Hello YouTube world, Mac Daddy 1911A1 here with the Shade Tree Survivalists. I was in a conversation the other day with Uncle Fester, and he said that my how-to videos are some of his favorites, and he thought I should make a how-to video on what I have created or made for my different gear, as far as the camouflage. It was there was a lot of trial and error in making the different pieces and parts to make it all come together into one cohesive camouflage scheme, so it would all work together. Okay, and there was so much trial and error because I had I originally started doing some cell phone video with my new piece of crap cheap cell phone. We recently had to drop our AT&T, not because we were dissatisfied, but because the damn bill was too high. We went straight talking. The phone that I've got is a piece of junk. Alright, it's a little $99 phone, so it doesn't have the greatest video, and I just wasn't satisfied with it. But the sleeve for the rifle was the most difficult in some ways, and so I'm giving you this shot here. This is what it looks like, and I'm going to take it apart, and then I'm going to tell you how I did what I did. Okay, and this is how I started out. This is an old BDU jacket, and I just buttoned the cuff of the sleeve, and I just slipped it right over the rifle. Okay, then I just felt through it for where the action was at. I took a Sharpie marker and I marked those sections out, and I slowly started cutting and marking and cutting and marking some more until I came up with this right here. This is the actual sleeve. This is what it looks like off the rifle. And because an M1A has the operating rod, you got the big handle out here, reciprocating operating rod handle, and you've got the bolt, you've got to make sure that's clear so it'll sling the brass out. I wanted to maintain my iron sights in case something happened to my electronic sight. Of course, on the bottom, I had to also think about the fact I wanted to be able to mount the bipod. I wanted to keep my angled foregrip. I also had to have a hole in here for the mag well to insert the magazines, and of course the trigger at the rear. So all these things you have to go in when you lay that sleeve out and you start working on it slowly but surely. You mark it out, you make your cuts, you don't go too fast with it, because if you overdo it you can ruin the sleeve you're using. More than likely 90% of you guys out there have never used a sewing machine or needles and thread and so forth. But they make these little pins. I'll get over here by the camera so the camera can see it. And okay, there you go. Okay, and you use these pins to fold the material and put the pins in it to hold it in place so you can mark it, cut it, sew it, and everything else. It takes some practice. Okay, a whole lot of practice to do this. And I'm going to dismount the camera. First thing I did is I slit the sleeve right down the center, which I didn't actually cut it. What I did is I took a little device, I don't know what it's called, I call it a stitch buster. This is Kim's little stitch buster, and you use the end of it. Okay, right here you use this end to just hook the thread, and you push it along, and it's got a real sharp blade right in here, and it just cuts the thread. And I just disassembled it right along the seam in the arm. Okay, let me get the jacket over here. This seam right here on the bottom side of the sleeve, and I just disassembled it. And once I marked it all out, I came back, I left the original part of the cuff up here. It's double reinforced, it's 2 layers of material. Left it alone. Then I made the slot for the bipod. Then I used some really wimpy canvas, or some really wimpy nylon webbing, for a strap, and I folded it over, sewed it up, then I sewed it to the sleeve itself using a sewing machine. I came back here. This is the slot for the vertical or the angled foregrip. I added another strap that I also made. It's double reinforced, sewn up. Then I cut a slot in it and used the sewing machine to sew around that cut in order to keep it from coming apart. Man, trying to do this one-handed is a freaking nightmare. And you can see my stitching is trying to come out. I need to melt that because that's that crappy plastic material, nylon. It's just coming apart. I got to be careful with that. But this goes through the grip right here. Okay, and I hope the camera can see it. It's so bright out here, it's hard for me to see this. So now holds it together there, and then you get past it, and there's another strap here that I made, and to keep it from opening out behind the grip before the mag well. And then here's the slot for the mag well. Same thing, measured it out, cut it out, and then added the extra straps into it. Now this is the bottom, okay, and to sew the buttons on, there's a setting that you can use on the sewing machine, and that really is a whole lot faster than doing it by hand and a lot tighter. Okay, let's see. I'm hoping the camera can get this. This is the excess at the top of the sleeve that would be covered the top of the Picatinny rail and so forth. You need to know where your scope's going to land on your Picatinny rail, okay? And I've got this little sight that I know right where it's mounted because where the paint's not. Okay, so it's easy. And then the big scope, I mounted it on there, but I could not get it to work out because the scope rings are too low. Okay, and once you add this with its thickness is because it's doubled up, that's the part of the sleeve that has the reinforced elbow right here. Okay, that's what that is. So it's a little thicker. You add that, you add the camouflage, the artificial grass, straw, whatever you want to call it. Then you add it to the scope, and it made it so close to the rail I could not turn the objective lens to get it to focus out any at any distance, and it interfered, and I was thinking it was putting pressure on the scope. That'll throw your accuracy off, so I've got to get some taller rings for that. But you need to know where your scope's going to land on your rails already, and you need to mark it so that you can make your cuts correctly. And this will work for both the scope, and it'll work for the electronic sight, okay? But it's low profile enough that I can still see my iron sights, okay? I wanted to be able to be able to collapse the stock, okay? And you've got this slot cut into it, but I didn't want it to interfere with the action, didn't want it to slow the action down, and I wanted it to be able to be collapsed without ruining this. So when I got back here to the back, and you can see my stitching looks like Frankenstein did it, but it doesn't matter, it holds. But I put a solid piece of cloth all the way down so that it just glides right along it, and it doesn't hang up in there. And I can open the stock out to its full length, or I can close it up to its shortest length. And worked out really good, especially when I was doing the stock. I shortened it up as much as I could, and I had the rifle basically vertical, pointing at the ground, and man, that sucker worked out really, really nice. In the back here, now you can tell the left side and the right side are completely different. And this is the left side. There's a slot right here that I cut in, and I went around, I stitched it, you can see, so it wouldn't rip out, but it's designed to hook over this piece here where you hook your strap at the rear of the action if you want to hook it there. And I do, so I had to do that. Plus it holds it in place. And then this piece here wraps right over the top, comes down and behind the trigger, this strap here, and then I just basically loop it in there and it holds it in, and it worked great. I ran around that thing on there for several days and it did not move you know, at all. I did not do the bipod yet. I may before it's over with, but when you are doing a long patrol or whatever the case may be, that extra weight up front is just, especially on a rifle that weighs as much as Ole Betsy does, that's just too freaking much. And so I have not done it yet. What I may do is add or make some straps that I can just connect to the bipod, and then I can add local vegetation to it a whole lot easier, instead of having to make a sock or a sleeve for each of the legs and then the mechanism. Don't want to screw that mechanism up, you know. Okay, so how hard is it to take the sleeve off the rifle or to put it on the rifle? Taking it off is a little more difficult than putting it on. One thing I did not cover yet, and I need to, is the barrel sleeve. All right, the barrel sleeve is a piece of that same camouflage BDU jacket, and I went and I stitched, using a sewing machine, I stitched the burlap to it on both sides, and it's a continuous line all the way down, and every so often I double, triple stitched it, you know, I backed it up and made it go forward. Cut a hole at the front for the front sight to go through. Now this one here is quite difficult to add to it, and I'll leave it for last. Besides that, the sleeve has to slide over the barrel and all. First thing you have to do, and I'm going to go ahead and just shorten this up so that everything can be in the camera, hopefully, viewfinder. Take the bipod off, get it out of the way, and it's just like putting a freaking sock on. Just stick this end over the barrel, and you just let it slide right over all the equipment. And I've got it turned the wrong way. Right over the flashlight. I don't even remove the flashlight. Of course, you have to remove the sight if it's on there, because it'll be in the way. And I said it wasn't difficult, and I suppose because I'm talking, I'm making it more difficult than it normally is. But you basically just slip it down, get everything lined up where it's supposed to be at, and the flashlight is holding me off. I allowed that the strap for the cuff to go in the wrong direction is what the problem was. Or did I? No, I did not. I had it right to start with, dang it. It has been a while. So, I mean, I put this thing on there over a week ago. I hadn't took it off since for the different videos. Alright, but you get it pulled down where you want it. The flashlight's there. It's where it needs to be, and okay, get that lined up. Now right here at the vertical or the angle foregrip, you push that strap through, and you hook that button. That holds it together at the bottom. And I've got, see this excess here, I didn't want to sew it because I wanted it loose enough so I could slip it over the flashlight and all. And if I'd have sewn it up, then I wouldn't have had that looseness I needed. So I put a button here, and I made me another slot here and sewed it up. You just hook that there on that button. Moving my way to the rear, pull it over the magazine release. Okay, and right here at the rear, and I didn't even think about that when I shortened the stock up. I'll have to, doing this can be a pain. Move that stock back out of the way. Get it all tight. And right here at the rear where I was showing you that slot, you hook it just like that, and it stays beautifully. Okay. Get that straight, and hold it. Just wrap it around, And come back over here, through and under. It's just a simple little thing to do. Nothing to it. One more strap right here at the front. And you hook it on the button. Alright, ladybug, get off of me. There it is. Now, let me put the bipod on so it'll stand up for you to see. Alright, got that on. Snap the mag in. She's all together. Now, the electronic sight. Okay, you can. I don't know how well the camera can see, but we've got a slot here and a slot here that is clear. And well, actually, I got ahead of myself on that one because this one here will not open it up enough to just set down. You actually have to slide it on. And of course, it's wanting to be a pain in the neck while I'm trying to do this for the camera. Slide on, put your screws back in, and you run this strap under it. There you go. It's not perfect, but Mark 1 rifle sleeve, camo sleeve, came out really nice if you ask me. Alright. Now, let's do the barrel sleeve. Barrel sleeve gave me a real rash. It was one of the more difficult pieces to do. I started it and stopped it and redid it 2 or 3 times before I got it to where I could stand it. But basically all it is just a flat rectangular piece of cloth, and just lay it on top of the barrel. You push the excess under the sleeve, that helps hold the rear of it. And then I've got the slot at the front for the front sight, and push it down. And then I just use some of the strings that I made, and I've got little holes cut in there. I've got 3 of them, and it just ties it onto the barrel. It's not very difficult. And then of course I go back once I'm done and reconnect the cuff on the sleeve, and that helps hold the rear in. And you saw the video. I mean, it worked out really, really nice.